Now because they talk more of Nigeria, that is why. If you feel they do international this thing now, like sorry. All right. Hi guys. Hi lovelies. Yeah, a big shout out to Melissa. She's the first person here. Yeah, Melissa. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, guys, please don't forget what to do. Please, when you come in, the first thing you do is to like, you understand, and drop your names. Then we give ourselves a shout out, That's how it goes. That's the way it goes. Is Melissa still here? Melissa. Okay, let's go. When I came into your life, I have the first thing I did is give you like, yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you. Okay, let's go in. A big shout out to Melissa and a big shout out to Ima. A big shout out to Jabari. I know you. Do you know me? Where do you know me? A big shout out to Jenna. A big shout out to Willow. A big shout out to Ima. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Aimi. A big shout out to Adi. A big shout out to Neela. A big shout out to where do you work at? Yeah, you said you know me, so yeah, let me know. Yeah, just tell me. You're asking me question. You said you know me, so just tell me where you know. Yeah. Guys, please, you're welcome. Please, let's like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Don't forget to drop your names. Okay. A big shout out to Bob. So, Jenna, if you know me, yeah, you tell me where you know me. A big shout out to Aimee. A big shout out to Ania. A big shout out to Tega. A big shout out to Tyler. A big shout out to Kingsley. A big shout out to Tori. A big shout out to Kiko. A big shout out to 11. A big shout out to Nat. Let's go drop your name back to back, I mean. And I'll give you a shout out. A big shout out to Richow. A big shout out to Mangi. A big shout out to Lena. A big shout out to Kelsey. A big shout out to Zoe. A big shout out to Lala. Thank you so much. Yeah, a big shout out to Ketsy. A big shout out to Boomy. A big shout out to Emily. A big shout out to Mohawk. A big shout out to Darwin. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Elena. Guys, please let's go like and sub. I subscribe really. Northwest, thank you so much. Please, if you're just subscribing today, let me know. Just type, I mean today, just today, or just now. If you're just subscribing now, please let me know on the comment section so that I can give you a special shout out because you're new. So we need to formally welcome you. Don't lie. Please, I'm not talking about the old subscribers because those ones are my besties already. And I'm talking about the new subscribers. Please, no cheating. Okay, let's go. A big shout out to Ben. Can you do my boyfriend? A big shout out to your boyfriend, Seed. That's sweet. A big shout out to Lexi. A big shout out to Eden. A big shout out to Zane. It's my bed. I subscribe. A big shout out to you, Effie. Thanks for subscribing. I sub to you. A big shout out to, let me see your name. A big shout out to Nat Rubino. Thanks for subbing. A big shout out to Neo. And you are welcome. A big shout out to Livia. A big shout out to Sophia. Hi, darling. A big shout out to Ashton. I sub. A big shout out to Tao Saja. Thanks for subbing. A big shout out to Daniela, and you are welcome. A big shout out to Emily. I have no subs. A big shout out to Hannah. I don't really know what you're saying. A big shout out to George. A big shout out to Zaid. I sub. You're welcome. Thank you. A big shout out to Phoebe. Yeah, I got that. Thank you. Phoebe. A big shout out to Andren. Do you remember me from last stream? Yes, I do. A big shout out to Maya. Did you change your profile, Maya? As in your profile picture, it's not looking like the Maya I know. A big shout out to Chloe. Guys, let's go. A big shout out to Malani. A big shout out to Henry. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Brila. Shout out to Malani. Shout out to Kriti. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Lebo. Guys, please let's go like and sub. Thank you so much. You're all welcome. And your names are pretty. A big shout out to Alina. Yeah, let's go. A big shout out to Logan. A big shout out to Henry. A big shout out to Yusef. A big shout out to Juno. A big shout out to Melwin. A big shout out to Maya. Shout out to Joyce Lee. A big shout out to Janet. Yeah. A big shout out to Mina. A big shout out to Lena. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Jasira. Hmm. Pretty names. Pretty names sound like this. This, 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 this. Go. Pretty names sounds like that. That, that. Shia. A big shout out to Shia. A big shout out to Kaylee. Guys, let's go. A big shout out to Kisha. A big shout out to Peggy. A big shout out to Isabel. A big shout out to Aisha. A big shout out to Apollo. Apollo. Guys, let's go. Let's go like and sub. A big shout out to Yippee. A big shout out to Bethany or Bethany. A big shout out to Hannah. A big shout out to Avolo. A big shout out to Demni. Let's go. A big shout out to Paka. Opal. A big shout out to Opal. Opal, you again. A big shout out to Amaya. A big shout out to a big shout out to Valeria. A big shout out to Tessia. A big shout out to Mira. A big shout out to Luca. Please, if I'm not pronouncing your name well, apologies. Yeah, you can tell me how to do it. I will be glad to. Thank you. A big shout out to T. Your hair is T. Thank you so much. I think you were there when I was making my hair. A big shout out to April. A big shout out to Honey. A big shout out to Nova. A big shout out to Mia. A big shout out to Lily Mai. A big shout out to Abigail. A big shout out to Al Hees. A big shout out to Easy. A big shout out to Lorna. A big shout out to Daisy. A big shout out to Star. You are a star. Shine bright like a diamond. Eh, eh. Shine bright like a star. A big shout out to Nova. A big shout out to Hannah. A big shout out to Opal, troublemaker. A big shout out to Jasmine. A big shout out to Nora. A big shout out to Serenity. A big shout out to Lucy. A big shout out to Mira. A big shout out to Nicole. A big shout out to Angela. Let's go. Pretty girls walk like that. That. Slay King and Queens. Clock it. A big shout out to Siraj. Guys, please drop your name. I give you a shout out. Let's go. A big shout out to Joes. Let's go. A big shout out to Jeremiah. Hi. A big shout out to Betty. Check that pillow. Don't let it cover her face. A big shout out to Lee. Big shout out to Timmy. A big shout out to Kaden. A big shout out to Leela. A big shout out to Spoon A big shout out to Tyler. Guys, let's go like and subscribe. Let's go. Go. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Tima. Guys, I need to be fast, right? Okay, let's go. Bring it on. A big shout out to Ariana. A big shout out to Leela. A big shout out to Madeline. A big shout out to Tima. A big shout out to Declan. A big shout out to Alexa. Let's go, guys. Please let's like and subscribe. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Nico. A big shout out to Maya. A big shout out to Jay. A big shout out to Seagully. Please let's like and subscribe. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Lauren. Amazing names. A big shout out to Lekely. A big shout out to McKenna. A big shout out to Elif. A big shout out to Maria. A big shout out to Sayori. A big shout out to Shemila. A big shout out to Ima. A big shout out to Sage. Yeah, a big shout out to Fire. Guys, please put down your name. I give you a shout out. A big shout out to Timmy. Yeah, you're welcome, my darling. IVTR. Please like and subscribe. God bless you. A big shout out to Titi. A big shout out to Rose. Clarky. A big shout out to Ciara. A big shout out to Stella. A big shout out to Timmy. A big shout out, thank you for tapping. Thank you. Oh my God. You not go come up for you. I beg. A big shout out to, because they enter here. Guys and Pride, your own day here. So, a big shout out to Isaac. A big shout out to Charlie. A big shout out to Pia. A big shout out to Kai. A big shout out to Charlie. A big shout out to Anta. Shima. A big shout out to Jopi. A big shout out to Linda. A big shout out to Jazzy. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Maya. A shout out to Jace. A big shout out to Jamie. A big shout out to Queenie. A big shout out to Ava. A big shout out to Dakota. A big shout out to Queenie. A big shout out to Pearl. A big shout out to Madina. A big shout out to Serenity.
Is it very cool now?
A big shout out to Alina. Let's go. A big shout out to Noah. A big shout out to Bristol. A big shout out to Salvin. A big shout out to Nasuki. A big shout out to Timmy Joe Pello. A big shout out to Nazni. A big shout out to Ya. A big shout out to Jenny. A big shout out to Kenley. A big shout out to Isabella. Clark It. A big shout out to Monica. A big shout out to Sissy. A big shout out to Riva. A big shout out to Fiona. A big shout out to Reese. A big shout out to Marina. Clark It. A big shout out to Yuri. A big shout out to Sophie. A big shout out to Suso. Let's go. A big shout out to Rayleigh. A big shout out to Chrissy. A big shout out to Luca. A big shout out to Khan. A big shout out to Lindsay. A big shout out to Wesley. That's it. A big shout out to Maya. A big shout out to Megumi. A big shout out to Sheba. A big shout out to Grace. Shout out to... Drop your names. Shout out to Regina.
9 o'clock at night.
Shout out to D Jelly. Shout out to Francesco. Shout out to Sukuna. Shout out to Madina. Who's your favorite South Park character? A big shout out to Marina Clarky. A big shout out to Dixie. Dixie Enormous. Thank you. Clarkies. Big shout out to Reese. A big shout out to Ima Winter. A big shout out to Gojo. Let's go. Yeah,
Okay.
winter.
So,
All right, my darling. A big shout out to Owen, your lovely cousin.
will you
A big
stop
shout
now?
out to please donate
Okay.
in my winter.
So where did you stop?
A big shout out to Bristol.
I will not
A
him.
big shout out to
Eh?
Zala. A big shout out to Jessica.
Take it off.
A big shout out to Luca and
Mm-hmm.
Ella.
Yeah,
A
let
big
me
shout out
see
to
your face.
Christy Jana. A big shout
Okay,
out
so
to
where did you stop?
Miwa. A big shout out to Francesca. A big shout out to
Why are you
Hia.
muted?
A big shout out to Painting. A big shout out to Ali. A big shout out to Liam. A big shout out to Ahaya. A big shout out to Madina. A big shout out to Ali. A big shout out to Heaven. A big shout out to Utahime. A big shout out to Victor. A big shout out to Hava. A big shout out to Lauren. A big shout out to Unj
No.
Jazz, Clark Kids.
But
A big
I'm
shout out to
not always with him. If
Nayeli.
I'm with you, then
A
you
big
can
shout out
just take her.
to Johnny.
But
A big shout out to Cartelli. A big love your name. Thank you so much.
if
Guys,
that's the
please
case,
let's go like and
you
subscribe.
can be
Thank
writing on the
you.
questions.
Let's go. A big shout out to Lauren. A big shout out to Dijali. A big shout out to
So
Emily. A big shout out to Amira. A big shout out to Lauren. A big shout out to Allison. A big shout out to Ava.
where did you stop?
Clock it. A big shout out to Brayley. Let's go. Guys, let's go. A big shout out to Zala, Mai. A big shout out to Heavy. A big shout out to Lila. A big shout out to Mycy. A big shout out to guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Let's go back to back. A big shout out to Sadie. A big shout out to
So what's the
Marcy.
question?
A big shout out to Alexandra. A big shout out to Tasley. A big shout out to Ariella. A big shout out to Dicky. A big shout out to Jenna. A big shout out to Chloe. A big shout out to Lavanda. A big shout out to Lucas. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Son Ferry.
Turn on your
A big
camera.
shout out
Why?
to
So nobody's free,
Felix.
eh?
A big shout out to
I'm the same one
CB. A
talking
big
to.
shout out to Florence.
So
A big shout out to Talia.
here's the question.
A big shout out to
Send
Mia.
it to me.
A big shout out to Chloe. A big shout out to
Have you solved
Jenny.
it?
A big shout out to
None of them.
Luca. You're welcome. A big shout out to Indy.
Okay.
A big shout out to
Send
Porky.
it to me.
A big shout out to Zalamia. A big shout out to Polia. A big shout out to Lena. Let's go. Let's drop our name. Big shout out to Harry Cox. Clock it. Please let's go like and subscribe. Let's go, 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 go. Big shout out to DJ.
Okay.
A big shout out to Laila. Let's go. You're welcome. Please, guys, if you want to donate, I'm seeing people that are saying they want to donate. Please go to my bio. Yeah, go to my profile, my channel's profile. You will just see the link. Okay, thank you so much. A big shout out to Selma. A big shout out to Maya. A big shout out to Oliva. A big shout out to Kennedy. A big shout out to Kaisa. A big shout out to Casey. A big shout out to Sophia. Sophia, thank you for subscribing. A big shout out to Olivia. Thank you so very much. A big shout out to Casey. Thank you so very much. A big shout out to Jeremy. Thank you very much. A big shout out to Rayleigh. You're welcome. A big shout out to Jai. Thank you. A big shout out to Mata. Clock it. A big shout out to Sky. Thank you. A big shout out to Jenna. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Ja Praise. A big shout out to Mora. A big shout out to Ella. A big shout out to Isagi. A big shout out to Olivia. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Jasper. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Jenna. A big shout out to Nana. You're welcome. Remember, I'm a
I'm s-
girl who said I will be
I'm still
there.
going through others.
Oh, thank you so much. And you are here. 10. 10 over 10. Thank you, girl. You were good. A big shout out to Evangelina. A big shout out to
We also look at
Room.
question 5 again.
A big shout out to Y. A big shout out to
Okay.
McKinley. A big shout out to Rumi. A big shout out to Shy Star. A big shout out to JD. Let's go. A big shout out to Anna. A big shout out to Wally. A big shout out to Chanel. I love your hair. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Harvey. A big shout out to Wally. Thank you. A big shout out to Mia. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Damion Jenk. Good, thank you. A big shout out to Yerin. A big shout out to Madeline. A big shout out to Hamna. A big shout out to Anistine. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Mia. A big shout out to Noi. A big shout out to Max. A big shout out to Jonathan. Joy Star. A big shout out to Lucifer. A big shout out to Amina. A big shout out to Rosa Bella. A big shout out to you like my channel. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Diana. Thank you guys. A big shout
We'll
out
go
to
through question
Hannah. A
3
big shout out
again.
to Azel. A big shout out to Lola.
Yes.
Paul, thank you so much. I love your hair. Thank you. A big shout out to Kahebre. A big shout out to Deo. A big shout out to Madeleine. A big shout out to Mega. Guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Let's go, 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 go. Can we please take the like up to 60, please? Can we please take the like up to 60? Thank you. And please don't forget to subscribe. A big shout out to Kira. A big shout out to Magdalene. A big shout out to Maddie. A big shout out to Claire. A big shout out to Jade. A big shout out to Bank Chan. I sub. Thank you, Edith, for subbing. Clock it. A big shout out to you, Jade. A big shout out to you, Nat. I thought you said your stream was at 10. Apologies. I'm so sorry. I came, I think I was in 5 minutes earlier or 10. I can't remember, but I think it was like 5 minutes earlier. Yeah. So apologies for that. Okay. Sorry, my darling. A big shout out to Hannah. A big shout out to CB. A big shout out to Jade. A big shout out to Siri. A big shout out to Oscar
So have you done it?
Dolly. A big shout out to Remy. A big shout out to Lila. A big shout out to Hannah. A big shout out to Ollie. A big shout out to Lila. Guys, yes, can we please take the like
35
up
now.
to 90? No, not 90, 70. Let's take the like up to 70. A big shout out to Minchi. A big shout out to Leona. A big shout out to Penelope. A big shout out to Eleanor. Let's go. You're welcome. A big shout out to Olamide. Thank you. A big shout out to Lily Plutard Venture. A big shout out to Jane Van Hales. A big shout out to Lick Now. Let's go. Big shout out to Peter Saint 675. Let's go. A big shout out to Emily. A big shout out to Faith. Clock it. A big shout out to Chan B. Let's go. A big shout out to Evangeline. A big shout out to Lottie. Big shout out to Really. Let's go. A big shout out to Race. A big shout out to Valentina. A big shout out to Hi, Hunchy. Let's go, 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 go. A big shout out to Lai. A big shout out to John Jordan. A big shout out to Tammy. A big shout out to Mike. A big shout out to Han. A big shout out to Titan. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. A big shout out to Diana. Clock it, guys. You all have an amazing and pretty names. All my days. A big shout out to Felix. A big shout out to Titan. A big shout out to Copper. A big shout out to Diana. A big shout out to Molly. A big shout out to Maya. A big shout out to Lee. A big shout out to Evan. A big shout out to Sayori. A big shout out to Emilia. A big shout out to Moye. A big shout out to Jane. A big shout out to Anauri. Clock it. A big shout out to Yaya. A big shout out to Lee. A big shout out to Brainley. A big shout out to Camila. A big shout out to Seongbin. A big shout out to Mia. A big shout out to Crimson. A big shout out to Meili. A big shout out to No Snap. A big shout out to Tico. A big shout out to Lulu. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Kenda. Shout out to Liam. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to Shane Min. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Philip. Shout out to Liam. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Camelia. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Kingston. I do remember you, but I don't know if I pronounce your name properly. I'm so sorry if I did not pronounce your name well. Forgive me. Big shout out to Gracie. I'm so sorry, my darling. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about it. Please just help me. I need your help. A big shout out to Cameron. A big shout out to Emory. A big shout out to Mommy. A big shout out to Zorilita. A big shout out to Cora. A big shout out to Tomatoes is back. No way. Oh no. It's me, Tomatoes. No, please. Please don't pull down Tomatoes. I won't call you. I won't. I won't. A big shout out to Maya. A big shout out to Ariana. A big shout out to Eric. A big shout out to your mom. A big shout out to Seongbin. A big shout out to Papi. A big shout out to Shara. Ooh. A big shout out to Evie, a big shout out to Sienna, a big shout out to Phoebe, a big shout out to Bella and Sophie. A big shout out to Kava. A big shout out to Nabella. A big shout out to Mommy. A big shout out to Scarlett. A big shout out to Clay. A big shout out to Robbie. A big shout out to Kinder. A big shout out to Molly. A big shout out to Sienna. A big shout out to Chi. A big shout out to Mama. A big shout out to Chairi. A big shout out to Laila. A big shout out to Lily. No tomatoes, please. A big shout out to Sasha. A big shout out to Brody. A big shout out to Kinder. A big shout out to Stanley. A big shout out to Azel. A big shout out to Henry. A big shout out to Nasi. A big shout out to Willett. A big shout out to Jalia. A big shout out to Papa. A big shout out to Lee. A big shout out to Azel. A big shout out to Cher. A big shout out to Imali. A big shout out to Molly. A big shout out to Sarah. A big shout out to Mano. Shout out to Johnny. Shout out to Papa. Shout out to Hazel. Shout out to Emma. A big shout out to Jazil. Guys, let's take this time to please. I can't hear you. You can't hear me. Guys, can't you hear me? What's going on? Thank you. Can we take this time to take the like to 80, please? Why I take a warm tea. A big shout out to you, Miracle. Cheers, guys. Cheers. Just 10 seconds, okay? This thing might be hot. 10 seconds, please. Let's take the like up to 80. Yeah, thank you. Cheers. On our way to Papa. A big shout out to Justly. Oh, the likes is still on 75. I said 80. Yeah, can we take the like up to 80, guys? 80, please. Yeah, guys, let's go. Please, let's take the like up to 80 and let's like and subscribe so that we can carry on. I think I'm having an amazing time here. I don't know about you. Hello, me. A big shout out to you, Meg. Yeah, thank you. Please let us like and subscribe. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Stella. A big shout out to Rosie. Guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Thank you. Big shout out to Kale. Kalena. A big shout out to Phoebe. A big shout out to Mary. A big shout out to Jocelyn. A big shout out to Aggie. A big shout out to Annie. Hi, Meg. Hope you're good. Guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Drop your names. I'll give you a shout out. Let's go. A big shout out to Brody Pride. Ucheke or Uwe. A big shout out to Riha. Let's go. A big shout out to Riha. A big shout out to Abidi. Abidi, please go like and subscribe. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Violet. A big shout out to Serenity. A big shout out to Samson. A big shout out to Cher. A big shout out to Rohara. A big shout out to Skibidi. Oh. Hi, Veso. Hi, Lindsay. Please let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Rowan. A big shout out to Ariana. A big shout out to Rary. A big shout out to Amari. A big shout out to Presley. A big shout out to Raj Deep. A big shout out to Doob. A big shout out to Casey. And a big shout out to Albrela. A big shout out to Nico. A big shout out to Lee. A big shout out to Jules. A big shout out to Lee Con. A big shout out to Simrat. A big shout out to Lily Ria. Hi, a big shout out to Angelina. Guys, let's go like and subscribe. Please, can we take the like up to 90? Let's take the like up to 10 here, over here. Please, let's go. A big shout out to Isley. A big shout out to Bray. A big shout out to Che. A big shout out to Kunchi. A big shout out to Kali. A big shout out to Julia. A big shout out to Fairnet. A big shout out to Azel. A big shout out to Aria. A big shout out to Easy. A big shout out to Vea. A big shout out to Lindsay. Hi. Listen, please like and subscribe. Big shout out to Tia. Beautiful chairs, yeah. A big shout out to Azel. A big shout out to Nora. A big shout out to Roadblocks. A big shout out to Simran. A big shout out to Kali. A big shout out to Mackenzie.
Question 9.
A big shout out to
Okay.
a big shout out to Lindia. A big shout out to
Question 9.
Jaco. A big shout out Malik. A big shout out to Rabida. A big shout out to Ely. A big shout out to Hope.
Check it if
A
you
big
have
shout out
answered
to
question 4.
Johnny. A big shout out to
Check if you have
Braille. A
answered
big shout out to
question 4.
Isho's P. Yeah, I still love his content. Yeah, he's quite good. Yeah, they are our Oga at the top, issue speed. Yeah. They are our big boss at the top, you know. They are higher.
So, but it's
But anyways, we are just starting. So
Yeah, and I know the answer.
we all started from somewhere. So yeah, it's just a
And I just
process.
circled,
A big shout out to
question 5 is also
Cash.
wrong.
A big shout out to Hadia. A big shout out to Haley. A big shout out to Zoe. A big shout out to Teresa. A big shout out to Jordan. Hi, Ben. A big shout out to Ben.
wait.
A big shout out to
I think I get
Kati.
it. Okay.
A big shout out to Kanye West.
So correct
A
those
big
ones.
shout out to Teresa.
Okay.
A big shout out to Zilly. A big shout out to Goni. A big shout out to Mackenzie. A big shout out to Arena. Great. A big shout out to Leona. A big shout out to Tyler, the creator. A big shout out to Crimson. A big shout out to Zilly. A big shout out to Adrian. Thank you for subscribing, Boo. A big shout out to Shirley. A big shout out to Lover Girl. A big shout out to Crimson. A big shout out to Adrian. Let's go. A big shout out to Caitlin. A big shout out to Shelly. A big shout out to Jenny. A big shout out to Tia. A big shout out to Erin. A big shout out to McKenna. A big shout out to Savannah. Please, can we take the like up to 90? Let's go. Let's take the like up to 90. And please subscribe for me. Cheers, guys. Nice and warm. So we just need 4 more. We need 4 more likes to get to 90.
Yuppie! I've done it! Yay!
Okay.
Okay, so 4.
What question?
A big shout out to Nadia. A big shout out to
Oh, I
Alice.
forgot to do question 9.
A big shout out to Alina. A big shout out to William. A big shout out to Lily. A big shout out to Hattie. A big shout out to Ria. Thank you for subbing, Thelwa. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Mangi. A big shout out to Jaylee. A big shout out to Vivi. A big shout out to Ellen. Ellen. A big shout out to Amaya. A big shout out to Asha. A big shout out to Helen. A big shout out to Jordan. A big shout out to Alina. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Katsi. A big shout out to Rahaf.
Okay, done now.
Who is
Okay.
writing that?
So, for
Please don't write
question 9,
something that
the
is.
answer that
Yeah,
that is
don't
the
write
answer
something
that is
weird,
probably correct
else
is
I'll take you
30.
down.
B. Question answer
A
B.
big shout out to Pank. A big shout out to
So how is it? How is
Araship.
it?
A big shout out
30.
to Inerao. A big shout out to
Because if you
Maddie. A big shout out to
because if you think about it,
Pank. No,
so
Fank.
you
A big shout
added
out to
2 already
Maddie.
after
A
you
big shout out
added 4
to
more.
Yeah.
Then after
Haisha.
when you add 4, wait a minute.
A big shout out to
Yeah.
Heaven.
No, I don't think
A
it's
big shout out to
30.
Richard.
I don't
A big
think
shout out
it's
to
30 anymore.
Melida. A big shout out to
Okay.
I think it's
Juliana.
30. I think it's
A big shout out to
32.
Richard. A big shout out to
Explain.
Adeline.
Because think about it.
A big shout out to
16 plus
Scarlett.
16 equals
A big shout out to
32.
Hella.
And they doubled the number. They did 2
A big
plus
shout out
2,
to
4 plus 4,
Hallie.
8
Thank
plus
you.
8.
You love
So
my hair.
if we
Thank
do
you so
16 plus
much.
16, the answer will
A
be
big shout out
32.
to
Okay. This is good.
I'm so
a
smart.
Bronte.
So is that correct?
Bronte.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, guys. A big shout out
Very
to
smart.
Hella. A big shout out to
For number 5.
Bronte. I just hope I got that right. And if not, please help me out.
I think the answer is 27.
A big shout out to Jordan. Malik.
So the reason why is because so they added
A big shout out to
2 plus 3
Andy.
equals
A
5.
big shout out
And
to.
after they did 5 plus 5,
You're from Indonesia.
equals
Oh,
10.
please put down your
So
name. Let me give you a
after
shout
they did 10
out.
plus 7, which
You're
equals
welcome. A
17.
big shout out to
So maybe they
Kitty.
could add
A big shout out to
another 10.
Chloe. A big shout out to Lena. A big shout out to Steve. A big shout out to Vivi. A big shout out to Layla. Let's go. Hi, Kelvin. A big shout out to you. A big shout out to Totu. A big shout out to
27.
Simrat. A big shout out to Oakley. A big shout out to Aria. A big shout out to Promendi. A big shout out to
Not quite.
Totu. A big shout out to
Almost there. Look at it again.
Adam. A big shout out to Vivi.
You can do it. Those are
Vivian.
very smart.
A big shout out to Aria. A big shout out to Matthias. A big
again.
shout out to Oli. Shout out to Jordan Ray. Shout out to Arash.
Okay.
Deep. Shout out to Matthias. Shout out to Oli. Shout out to Brooklyn. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Big shout out to Mark. A big shout out to Phoebe. A big shout out to Karen. A big shout out to Darcy. A big shout out to Libby. A big shout out to Shiloh. A big shout out to Mia. Let's go. A big shout out to Giselle. A big shout out to Vivian. A big shout out to Mia. Guys, let's go. Can we take the like up to 100? Clock it. We need three amazing persons to take the like up. Yeah, we need 2 more. Let's go.
Not quite.
Please,
but
if you have not
almost there.
liked, please just go like.
Almost there.
Okay, let's go.
Try
Let's go.
again.
Please, let's go like. Let's go like. Thank you so much for the 100
Try
likes.
again.
Thank you so much. You guys deserve it. Thank you.
Try looking at the question again.
A big shout out to Razbinda. A big shout out to Laurel. A big shout out to Emily. A big shout out to Cookie. A big shout out to Kiki. That's me. That's me. A big shout out to Leila. A big shout out to Octavia. A big shout out to Emily. A big shout out to Ruby. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Ava. A big shout out to Lila. A big shout out to Ferry. A big shout out to Dylan. A big shout out to Lily. A big shout out to Asma. A big shout out to Grace. Eva Grace. A big shout out to Lily. A big shout out to Adeline. A big shout out to Vivienne. A big shout out to Melania. A big shout out to Imani. A big shout out to Dela. I love your hair. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Promedi. A big shout out to Gang. Yeah, what's her name, Haley? Please put down her name. Let's give her a shout out. A big shout out to Gage. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Zoe. A big shout out to Mom. A big shout out to Bobby. Yeah, let's go. A big shout out to Rosanna. Thank you so much. Big shout out to Leila. Big shout out to. Yeah, please, what's her name? Ellie. Yeah, Ellie, I'm waiting. Big shout out to Neva. Big shout out to Bea. What's your daughter's name? Let's give her a shout out. Guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Lily, Amaya, Lilia, Kirsty. Hi Sandra, how are you, dear? Please, can you like and sub? My daughter's. A big shout out to your daughter, Himi. Congratulations on your beautiful performance in school today. We love you. Clock it, girl. A big shout out to Jasper. Your mama is so proud of you. Yeah, you are so energetic. Thank you so much, Power TV. Thank you. Please let's go like and subscribe. A big shout out to Bella. Hope your daughter is happy. Helly, hope your daughter is happy. And yeah, wish her all the very best in life. A big shout out to Nas Hua. A big shout out to Nadia. A big shout out to Caloria. Yes. Yeah. I'm also, we are proud of her and we are happy about that. More wins. A big shout out to Francisca. Happy birthday to your doggish Shiloh. A big shout out to Lily. A big shout out to Joshua. A big shout out to Scarlett. A big shout out to Liana. A big shout out to Rihanna. A big shout out to Francis. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to Ali. Yeah, my daughter is sleeping. She's asleep. This is um to 11 midnight. So she can't be awake this time, no, because she'll be going to school. So my daughter is fast asleep. A big shout out to Genesis. A big shout out to Mbali. Guys, let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys. Cheers. Just taking a sip. Okay, guys, let's go like and sub. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Darlene. A big shout out to Kira. A big shout out to Max. A big shout out to Adeline. Let's go. Did you get your hair done? Yes, I did. I did it myself. Yeah, I did that myself. A big shout out to Tina. A big shout out to Yulia. A big shout out to Ember. A big shout out to Timothy. A big shout out to Aurora. A big shout out to Sparrow. It looks good on. Thank you so much. I just made it myself today. So that's my natural hair. Yeah, people want to see my natural hair. So that's my scalp. People want to see my scalp. That's my head. And that's my hair. I have a dark hair, afro. So a big shout out to Jenly. A big shout out to Sophia. A big shout out to Akako Jacob. A big shout out to Tony. A big shout out to Elliot. A big shout out to Tova. A big shout out to Jane. A big shout out to Kaya. A big shout out to Ember. A big shout out to Amanda. A big shout out to Melanie. A big shout out to Bristine. A big shout out to Hush. A big shout out to Mido. Why did you say that? Why did you say Jesus, please? A big shout out to Taylor. A big shout out to Bella. A big shout out to Rosa. A big shout out to Aries. A big shout out to Funny Cheeto. A big shout out to Anna. A big shout out to Mira. A big shout out to Holly. A big shout out to Hash. A big shout out to Indiana. A big shout out to Bella. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Oh, thank you. Big shout out to Banana. Big shout out to Mala. A big shout out to Abby. A big shout out to Mark Lazy. A big shout out to Najib. A big shout out to Habi. A big shout out to Jane. A big shout out to Brain. A big shout out to Ember. A big shout out to Chibuzo. A big shout out to Mark Kenzie. A big shout out to Kenna. A big shout out to Flo J. A big shout out to Stassi. If you have something kind in the world to say, yeah, can we wait till the end of the live? Yeah, but now we are making shout out. Guys, if you have any question for me, please exercise little patience. Yeah, we'll wait to the almost the end of the stream. Yeah. People shout out to pregnant. Yeah, you're back. Say that's his name. Ah. A big shout out to Ayana. A big shout out to Valerie. A big shout out to Destiny. A big shout out to Ayana. A big shout out to Brady. A big shout out to Emily. A big shout out to Ayana. A big shout out to Janie. A big shout out to Nara. A big shout out to Bree. A big shout out to Andy. You're beautiful. Thank you so much. You're gorgeous. I'm pregnant. Are you pregnant? Oh, that's so sweet. You should look so good on that. Congratulations to you, Declan. Yeah, what are you having, girl? A big shout out to Mark Osley. A big shout out to Lee. You're so pretty. And my name is Nara. A big shout out to you, Nara. Thank you for that. A big shout out to Funny Chido. A big shout out to Golden. A big shout out to Lee. Yes, please start your business. A big shout to Nihad. A big shout to Khalid. A big shout to Lee. Oh, you hope to have a boy. Oh, I love babies. They have cute, pretty face and chubby, soft cheeks. A big shout to Kelly. I wish you all the best, my darling. Yeah, take good care of yourself, please. Okay, try and drink a lot of water, eat good food, and sleep, as in have a rest, good rest. Okay, a big shout out to Arno, a big shout out to Zoe, a big shout out to Trisha, a big shout out to Nodi, a big shout out to Hela, a big shout out to Maya, a big shout out to Mark, a big shout out to Mark. Okay, guys, yeah, just give me 10 seconds. What do you, W, what does that mean? Venda, Flora, big shout out to Lavia. Okay, guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so very much. Um, yes, please let's go like and subscribe just for 10 seconds. I just want to charge my second phone. So if this one go off, I'll be able to use this one. So just 10 seconds to charge it. Don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe. 10 seconds, I'll be back. I'm doing it right here. I'm not going far. Sleeping on duty, sir. She not talk. She not talk. Our train, you don't book her. Tomorrow na still rush.
Why you calling her now?
No, no, let me check her. I be one come check her, so I need to know. You know, say
You go where?
yeah, guys, let's go like and sub. Let's go, 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 go. I'm back. Thank you for staying tuned. A big shout out to Kate. A big shout out to
Yeah.
Kali.
Yeah.
A big shout out to
Yes.
Nazia. A big shout out to Mila. A big shout out to Desire. A big shout out to Kali.
Okay.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Please
Which are the
drop your
questions?
names. Hi, I'm back. Welcome back. My music.
Question 9.
You're welcome.
Okay, so what
A
can
big
you
shout to
observe there?
Johnny. What do you think I'm having?
What can you observe?
Probably a girl, a pretty baby girl.
What do you mean?
A big
What's
shout
the
out to
pattern like?
Rohana. A big shout out to Rihanna.
Like the
A big
pattern
shout out
is adding
to
up.
So what did they add?
Ava. A big shout out to Jane Lee.
So it added 2 plus 2, then
Yeah.
4 plus 4.
Okay.
Guys, let's go.
Then, oh, oh,
Your hair is really
I get it.
pretty. Oh, thank you so much.
I got it.
Yeah, I just made it today. We want it. We want it. Da-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Yeah, guys, let's go. Please, a big shout out to Rose. Nah, I think I think a girl. Yeah, that is what I think. Okay, you think the same as well? Yeah, I think it's a girl. I like your nails. Thank you so much. You are so pretty. Oh, thank you so much, Christine. A big shout out to Mackenzie. You know, I told you, yeah, at the beginning of my live stream is very, very, very busy. But later it calms down. So I think it's that later that you can chat because you have time to, yeah, we have time to chat. Yeah, the comment section move, slowly. Yeah, something like that. Or um I would just like want to end the live and I will stay for extra 10 minutes question and answer. So I'll just change the contents on my screen. So that is how, yeah, we can help each other. So yes, what are we
Okay.
having? What baby? A big shout to Albert. A big shout to Maila. So what are we having? Baby boy or a baby girl? Have you checked? A big shout to Amelia. A big shout to Karina. A big shout to Jolly.
Okay.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Then after we have question 9. For question 9, the answer that I got was
A big shout out to Leah.
2 plus 2
Oh,
equals
well,
4.
hold on.
Can I
Let's go
see
back
the
to that
nails?
6. Let's go back to that 5. Go again. Just tell me,
Yeah.
how did you
That is
start
my
it again?
nails.
So
It's
how I
coming
solved
off
it?
though,
So I
but
did 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3 is 5.
Yeah.
5 plus 5 is 10. 10 plus 7 is 17.
yeah, thank you so much. A
Yeah.
big shout out to
17 plus
Amelia.
7 is
Big shout out
24.
to Nina Ray.
Not Ray.
Guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so
You check
much.
something with the pattern.
What?
Just listen to yourself. Repeat what you just said.
So 2 plus 3 equals 5.
It's okay.
Five
2
You're so
plus
pretty.
3.
Thank you so much.
What?
2 plus 3.
A big
5,
shout out to
right?
Angela.
Yes.
5 plus 5 is
A
10.
big shout out
Yeah.
to
10
Evelyn.
plus 7 is 17.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yale, you like and subscribe. Thank
No, you can't say
you.
plus 7.
A big shout out to Meredith.
Think about it again.
Amiya, thank you so much, Amiya.
I don't get it.
Please let's like and
You said
subscribe.
plus 3.
You're
plus
amazing
5.
as well, and your name
Uh-huh.
is pretty. You have a pretty name. A
Plus
big
3.
shout out to Ava.
Plus
A big
5.
shout out to Jolly. A big shout out to
Go
Amory.
ahead.
A big shout out to
Yeah. Then after, what's
Aliana.
next?
A big shout out to Wheeler.
Yeah. You have said
Oh,
2
thank you
plus
so
3.
much for subscribing.
5.
It's 5.
A big
Then
shout out
that's a
to
5 plus 5.
Amelia. A big shout out to
10.
Leah.
10.
That's a
A
10
big shout out
plus
to
7.
Amelia.
17. Is that going to be 17 plus what?
7.
A big shout out to
No.
Natalie.
I'm getting
A big shout out to Mazi.
2 plus, it is 3, 5,
A big shout out to Hava.
7.
A big
What's the
shout out
next
to
number?
Lilian.
3, 5, 7. What's the next number?
A big shout out to Nova
So now,
Heather.
listen. You said you added 3.
Yeah,
Then
let's
you
go.
added 5.
What's your
Then you
name?
added 7.
My name is Essay. You
What's the
can call me
next number you're going to add?
Kiki. Thank you. For like that. Yes. You subscribe for a year. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the next
What
number
type
you're
of
going to add?
music do I like?
Look at the way his pattern is going now. He's following a particular pattern.
I love hip hop.
What's the pattern?
Yeah, probably if I want to dance.
3,
And if I want to
5,
sleep, I love
7. Hey, what's the
blues.
next number?
A big shout to
I don't know
Alashi.
why.
A big shout out to
Go
Charlotte.
ahead.
A big shout out
So
to
do that and tell
Hala.
me your answer.
A big shout out to Talula. A big shout out to Maria. A big shout out to Ivy.
Odd numbers.
No, I haven't. I haven't watched that. A big shout out to Maria. A big shout out to Faith. A big shout out to May. Favorite color. Okay, I will say white. Thank you so much. I hate your voice. Why do you hate my voice? I'm not talking to you either. So you shouldn't hate my voice because you are not part of us. You are not one of us. So you shouldn't be here. A lost but found. A big shout out to Cody. A big shout out to Sama. A big shout out to Leela. A big shout out to Junior. Clarky. A big shout out to Ahmad. A big shout out to Faza. A big shout out to Peyton. A big shout out to me, Kayla. A big shout out to Ernestine. Guys, please let's like and subscribe. Can we take the like up to 40? 40, please. 40, please. A big shout out to Stephanie. I watched your shorts. I watched your shorts video and I saw yellow hearts was gorgeous on you. Oh, thank you. A big shout out to Delini. A big shout out to Surya. A big shout out to Naomi and Daniel. A big shout out to Alisa.
Yeah, I'm here.
A big shout out to Hami. A big shout out to Pluto.
Okay.
A big shout out to Fane. A big shout out to Savannah. A big shout out to Fatima. A big shout out to Pluto. A big shout out to Haley.
That's 26.
Yeah, I just realized because it's
Yeah, I just have to ignore haters. Yeah, I love your hair. Thank you so much.
It's as simple as that.
So we need to ignore them.
So what's going to happen?
But I just need to pass just some message to them.
Just to end this lesson, I'll just give
sometimes we can't just take our eyes off them. We need to pass a message, to them back.
It's going to be very simple.
A big shout out to Hammy. A big shout out to Elizabeth. Your hair is pretty. Oh, thank you so much, Faith. Sorry, I got to sleep. Bye. Oh, bye. Sweet dreams, my darling. You've tried today. Everyone, you all have tried. Thank you. If you can still keep going or, you want to carry on with me, yeah, let's stay and drop your names. Let's keep going. Clock it. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Emilia. A big shout out to Krista. You are the best as well. Thank you. You said my name wrong, but it's okay. It's kind of hard to say. Can you put it down again? Is it Brianna? A big shout out to Emilia. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm saying your names wrong. I tried. I'm really, really trying, guys, and I don't feel happy when people don't, when I say their name wrong. But I won't have said it
Okay,
wrong,
I've sent it to you.
honestly, if I know how to pronounce it. I'm really trying. There are
Just
Indians.
type.
I have Indians here. I have people from Malaysia. I
So
have people
based on
from
that, we can
all over
call it
the
a
world,
today.
and I have to call everyone's
All right.
name. You know, it can
So
be hard.
I'll see you next week.
So please pardon me. A big shout out to
Bye. Yeah,
Gifty
bye.
and Gregory. A big shout out to Madison. A big shout out to Painting. A big shout out to Azitoropos. A big shout out to Isa. A big shout out to Azitoropos. A big shout out to Painting. Guys, please let's go like and subscribe. Can we take the like up to 140 for me, please? A big shout out to Broccoli. Cheers, guys. Please let's just use 10 seconds. Is 10 seconds too small for you guys? Okay, let me say 1 minute. Yeah, let's just go top up the like. And if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe. Thank you. You are beautiful because everyone is. Yes, we are all beautiful. Queen and kings. Yeah, I'm waiting. 1 minute, please. Let's go like and subscribe. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Please let's like and subscribe. 1 minute. I'm supposed to be seeing the heart flying, but it's not moving. Like tap, 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 spam, 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 spam for just 1 minute. Hmm? Yeah, I can see it flying now. It looks so beautiful. Thank you so much. God bless your fingers. I finished drinking. That's a lot. I need to refill my body fluid. It's necessary. Okay, let me wait for 20 seconds. Yeah, then we'll start again. Thank you so much, Vicky. Hope you're good. Yeah. Guys, if you're just joining and you have not subscribed, please can we subscribe? Thank you. I love your hair. Is that trophy for me? That's a lot of trophy, my darling. It's a whole lot. Just for my hair. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Guys, I'm new. No way. Opa! Opa, are you still here? Or you left and you're back? I want to know if you stay here. You've been here for since the beginning now. Okay, guys, it's time. Can we carry on with the shout out, please? Yeah, are we good to go? Okay, you left and back. All right. Welcome back with your trouble. Okay, guys, are we good to go? Yeah, please don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, let's go. A big shout out to Naki. A big shout out to Kaden. A big shout out to Manogan. A big shout out to Osa. A big shout out to Evie. A big shout out to Mai. A big shout out to Kaden. A big shout out to Faith. A big shout out to Lily. A big shout out to Kiki. Oh God, Oppa no go. A big shout out to Oppa. A big shout out to Zofia. I think that's Sophia, but you said Z. I just wish that's your name. Just hope. A big shout out to Paige. A big shout out to Evelyn. You're welcome. A big shout out to Audrey. A big shout out to Asha. A big shout out to Elizabeth. A big shout out to Arisen. A big shout out to Amelia. Clock it. A big shout out to Brooklyn. Guys, let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Hasha. Can you a big shout out to Kiki? A big shout out to Fatima. A big shout out to Chloe. A big shout out to Jace. A big shout out to Lily. Oh, thank you so much, Sissy. Yeah, what's your brother's name, dear? A big shout out to Zele Nazo. A big shout out to Afsat. A big shout out to Brody, your brother. A big shout out to Swanra. A big shout out to Elizabeth. A big shout out to Joshua Kelly. A big shout out to Afsat. A big shout out to Easton. A big shout out to Rachel. A big shout out to BRB. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Olivia. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Daniela. A big shout out to Savannah. Guys, do you know what you do for me? Okay, let me tell you. I've been giving everyone a shout out. So what you will do for me is just pass it to everyone. Tell everyone about the channel. Yeah, tell them to come and subscribe. Tell your friends. It can be your family member. It can be, yeah, just tell them to, yeah, to come and subscribe. Let them also have fun and also be happy about it. Yeah, that is what you will do for me. That's all. Hope that's not too much. A big shout out to Luna. Yes, please. I might not call your name right, but feel free to correct me. You will say not this, or it is pronounced this dash this dash. Yeah, I think that will help me. Yeah, you don't need to complain. Just go on to do the correction and hopefully I'll get it. You make me so happy with your lovely popcorn. Yum 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 sugar. A big shout out to Ima. A big shout out to Diana. A big shout out to Maddie. A big shout out to Zayden. A big shout out to Cody. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. A big shout out to Oppa. A big shout out to Jazzy. No names, so I have to pause. Happy birthday to you. A big shout out to Katie. A big shout out to Kaylee. A big shout out to Mio. All right, Faith, Kaylin. I will see you probably tomorrow, hopefully. Kiki, when my birthday? I don't really know, Opa. Did you tell me? I had popcorn at the movie theater. Ah, I see. So you bought a lot and you're giving them to me. Ah, I see. Yeah, I love popcorns, but I don't like the sweet one because of my age. I told you in one of your life, but not today. Opa, not today because I didn't remember you telling me today. So probably, yeah, not today, right, Opa? Oh, December 1st, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, you said it. A big shout out to Laris. A big shout out to Mohammed. A big shout out to Larissa. Thank you so much, Lee. Yeah, December 1st. Yeah, I think you told me. So I was like, oh, it's gone. Do you have a sister? Yes, I do have a sister. I have 3 sisters and a brother. What's her name? Joy, Agnes, Agatha. I got 1 sister and 2 brothers. Oh, opposite. Why mine is 2 and a brother? Mm. A big shout out to you, Gia. Hi, hope you're good. A big shout out to Nora. A big shout out to dating. Guys, please let's go like and so. You told me yours is April. Alright, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. April. Yeah, I think April. Yeah, April is also my husband and one of my son. My husband is I think April 3rd. No, second. My son is April 3rd. So it's just a day difference. Second and third. April born. And we are January born. Clock it. A big shout out to Santiana. A big shout out to Emesha. A big shout out to Lundy. You should say that tomorrow not be bank holiday. Let me check calendar.
Bank holiday, we did not go school now.
Let me do that thing now. We'll see when the train go come about that 10 o'clock where you talk. I'll take reach the 10. A big shout out to Isobel. A big shout out to Kayla. A big shout out to Gemma. No, I'll keep that one private. Yeah, my husband's name, I'll keep it private. You have half brother, okay. You can get 100,000. As in, I don't get you. Why did you say so? Maybe shout out to Maria. But this was a good idea for a why. Yeah, what do you mean? Sorry. A big shout out to Nevada. I am the only child. Bless you. You're lucky. I just feel it doesn't really matter if you're the only child or If you have a lot of siblings, it doesn't really matter. The care is still there. The attention, the love of your family is still there. So I think that's the most important thing. Lala, I'm a younger child. A picture to Lala. Do you know my name without looking? I won't remember, but I know your account name very well. I can recognize you through your account name. Even Opal, Opal that I'm chatting with now, Maya and the likes is through their account name. Opal has been saying, who is she, who is she, who is she? I was ignoring the comments. But when my eyes fixed on the comment, I went straight to the name, to the account name, and I saw it was Oppa. So I said, oh my God, you have started again. So I know you with your account profile picture and your account name, not your real name. So if you're having, if you're bearing another name that is not your account name, it will be hard for me because I can't store two names for one person. It is always, yeah, it is difficult. Like wellness, I know your account very well, that this is wellness. So anytime I see you, I know you don't bear wellness. I don't call you wellness here. You have your name. But that name, I won't remember. I will only know you through your account name. So if you want it to be easy for me, just bear your name like Opa. Because anywhere I see Opa, I'll know he is the person. Or you can remind me anytime you come. Oh my days. Big shout out to Imali. Big shout out to Eric. I just hope I've not offended anyone with what I've said. I'm just trying to, yeah, to say the truth, how it is. Yeah, I don't want to start pretending that I know you and beating around the bush. No, that I know your name. So my name is Mariam. Hi. And your name is Savannah. But wellness, you told me another name the other day. Was it Savannah? I know you said Savannah, but there was a day you told me another name and I can't really figure out the name, right? A big shout out to Valeria, a big shout out to Zane, a big shout out to Caroline, a big shout out to Shakira. Oh, baby, when you talk like this, you make the woman go mad. If you want, Ah, dun, 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 dun. Shakira. Yeah, I love that woman. A big shout out to Hapa. Hapa is sick. Oh, sorry, my dear. I just hope you get well soon, okay? Please take a rest when you need it. Sorry, Appa. Sorry. A big shout out to Javin. A big shout out to Ariel. A big shout out to Caroline. A big shout out to Ayesha. A big shout out to Ava. I'm sick too. Oh no. Everyone is sick. What's going on? I think it's just the weather. When it comes to winter time, yeah, it's always not friendly at all. So sorry, dear. So sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm also sick. Oh no. What is going on? I'm not sick. Oh, someone is not sick. Sorry, guys. Those that are sick, so sorry. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so sorry, guys, but please take care of yourself. I think it's winter. Winter time is always like that. Yeah, my daughter was sick. Yeah, she was sick December. So she was okay before 2 days to Christmas. I was literally worried because I don't want her to be sick during Christmas. So yeah, she got well 23rd of December, and I was very happy. Mm, I am your big fan. Yay! Thank you, bestie. Appa. Aye, big shout out to Hapa. Hapa, get well soon, okay? And come back. A big shout out to Valerie. So Hapa, you can go have a rest. You really need to. Yeah, you really need to go have a rest, okay? You sleep, you take your medication. A big shout out to Elizabeth. A big shout out to Raja. Guys, let's go like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Ipa, our market.